Today I am going to be discussing who you spend your time with, why that matters. So I'm going to wait 5 minutes to see who joins us. And this live video was not planned, but I think it's important and valuable, and it was inspired by a comment that was left by one of you all. So if you are watching the replays and you like what you're seeing, please let me know that you're here in the comments. I really appreciate not being by myself in this whole thing called alignment and spiritual growth and challenging our own thinking and challenging my vision, which is why I'm wearing these glasses, because I am determined to retrain my eyesight to where I do not have to wear glasses anymore. Now, I'm only in readers, but I'm not giving a testimonial to these, but I will say that my eyes are stronger and I no longer need my glasses, my reading glasses, to read text messages and so forth. But small print, I'm still working, and it seems to matter the font color seems to matter. Anyways, here I am today talking to you all about this topic of who we spend our time with. And there is a saying, you know, we are a culmination of who we spend our time around. And I want to talk really about that and why that matters energetically. You know, hello, Rakesh, good to see you. It's been a while. It has been a while. Good to see you. Good to see you. Just going to wait 5 minutes anyways before everybody see who joins us. Now, as you know, I haven't been on here. Hi, Eric. Good to see you. Good to see you. Red Hunter. Hello. Y'all, I swear I can see you when I'm focused. I am determined to get rid of my reader, so I thought I would practice today with my glasses. Anyhow, it's so good to see you all. Thank you for being here. Hello, Brazil. Good to see you. Ariel. Awesome. Hi, Eric. 7. Good to see you all. So when I first started with these glasses, I couldn't even read my text messages on my phone. So now I am telling you that these glasses have helped me strengthen my focus of my eyes. So now I don't need glasses to read text messages or to glance at my phone, but I never seen those shades before. They actually are not sunglasses. They are glasses with holes in them that challenge your eyes to focus. And I've been doing this for like 20 minutes a day. Except for while I was on vacation, I kind of got off of it. So now I'm back. So I am determined, as you know, I said it many times last year, to strengthen my eyes so I don't need eyeglasses. And we can reverse things that are challenging us. I am fully aware that we could change our body and repattern. And so I figured I was just going higher and higher in those readers, and I hated wearing the readers because it was starting to leave marks on my face. Anyways, so now I am able to read text messages and emails that are in regular print. If I go to a website that has the small print, I have to wear glasses or expand it. But my eyes are getting stronger. The other thing that I've done is I've gone in the sun. I'm in the sun exponentially more than I was like 2 years ago. Exponentially. And what I'd say is my overall health has improved. What are you saying, Rakesh? I don't know what you're saying. Where you was these days. I don't understand the question there. Red Hunter, good to see you. Okay, we're just about at 5 minutes, and I wanted to share just a little bit about how this topic came up. So first of all, my name is Kiannaa. Some of you all know me. And I put these videos out in hopes to helping, one, 2 people, whoever needs my message for that day. I hope to be in service to the greater whole in some way, to where people can grow with their soul and alignment to be more connected to themselves, be more connected to humanity, be more connected to the earth, be more connected within, and realize your own power is always going to start from within. And so thanks, Seven, I appreciate it. So the other day I posted on the video, if you watch these videos, to leave a comment, and I got a comment from somebody who I hadn't seen before, and I was just so grateful that somebody is watching my videos that that is getting something out of it. And you know, I do not market, I do not do reels, I do long form content because I find that I enjoy communing with you all. So I wanted to talk about this topic about, you know, the people that we spend time around, we start to become them. Oh, hey, Shane. Oh, I just bought some of those today. I'm going to show you. I love that you always give me, those are my favorite flower. Look at, these are mums though, but I also bought daisies. Thank you. We're in sync. Okay. I love that you always put a flower in there, Shane. It's probably from your name, but anyways, I take it personal. I take it as a sign because it's one of my favorite flowers, the sunflower. Anyway, so thank you. Okay, so we become who we spend time around. So I work out of the house, as you all know. I work out of my home. I do all of my calls remote. I no longer work in corporate offices the same way as I used to. I do most of it remote. That was one of the beautiful things I found about COVID, is that I found that other people finally got a glimpse into my world of not working in corporate offices the same way. And what I learned is that a lot of people don't like themselves. I happen to really enjoy my company, but I will say this. When we are around other people, whether it's your partner or your family, you start to take on their ways without even being consciously aware of it. And yet, when you have these experiences online, like this type of video, where you're around other people who want to learn and grow, you start to expand differently. And it's so important to have a community. And I can build other people's communities. I've tried to build my own. It's a very interesting dynamic, but a lot of people don't like to share. And I get that. They don't want to know. I have a lot of people who are very private, who are executives, who come to me, who are entrepreneurs, who don't want everybody to know what they are doing in their private life, which I get. But if we do not expand our repertoire of people who we're around, we start to take on these ways of being from other people. And we start to become very limited in how we practice new behaviors. For example, gratitude. You know, gratitude is something that's, you know, everybody knows that gratitude. Okay, Shane, thank you. You have a blessed weekend too if you are leaving. Thanks for being here. Thanks for showing up in the comments. If we are grateful and we think and we say gratitude, and a good example is this is somebody who says thank you, thank you, thank you, and they'll say thank you like 5 or 10 times, but they're not actually thankful from in the heart. They're not actually expressing gratitude from a space of who they are. They're expressing it via words that are empty because they think, oh, I was taught to say thank you, or oh, I was taught to say be grateful, but they're not actually in the essence of gratitude. And that's really what you want to do, is be in the essence of gratitude and expand that. So I'll give you an example. Today I went to, talking fast today, so let me slow down. Today I did something I didn't want to have to do, but I decided to be grateful for the opportunity. And what I was doing was delivering return packages for my husband. He's on a trip, and so I was doing this for him. And I was like, well, I didn't even buy all this stuff. I'm going to return it. This should really be him who's doing it. And I said, no, that's the old way of thinking. I'm just going to be grateful for the experience of returning these packages for my husband. So I turned it around and I went to the post office, and I had this lovely man offer to help me carry in all these packages. Yes, that is how many packages I was returning. And I thought, oh, that's so beautiful that he was offering to help. And I said, I don't need help except for if you could hold the door for me, that would be great. So I go in there and I'm holding these packages, and I don't know about where you live, but in the United States, people are still in this 6 feet standing apart kind of business, afraid they're going to get sick. And the lady in front of me had this big bench, but she didn't want to step too close to the guy in front of her. Meanwhile, I'm like holding these packages, and I'm like, well, she really could move up. I could say, could you move up? Like, I'm having this whole internal dialogue. And then the next moment I know, she turns around, she says, oh, you should put your packages here. And she let me put my packages down in front of her while I waited in line. And I thought, oh, that's so nice, thank you. And then I took a moment, and I'm just seeing how grateful I am for this experience. And then I noticed at the post office, they have a new staff, and they were smiling. And I thought, this is new. They don't usually smile. I don't really experience them smiling. And I noticed this lady had such a beautiful smile. And so I was appreciating her smile. And I thought, well, maybe that's why I'm here. Anyways, my point is that I could have gone into this whole experience in a different way instead of being in gratitude. And so the practice of gratitude is really your experience of being in connection to yourself in every moment of every day. And that is how you start to change your relationships with others. So I wanted to take that to, are we who we spend our time with? Yes, when you are unconscious, you start to take on these behaviors of other people, whether it's learned or unconscious. And so you don't want to not be with other people. What you want to do is look and see, what are these people reflecting to you? Are they reflecting who you are wanting to become? And if not, why not? And then you also want to look at how are you becoming like your partner, or what is your partner reflecting back to you that you might be missing? So there's all different kinds of ways you could do it, but our ability to learn and grow, it definitely is enhanced by our community. Now, I will say, for my own personal growth, I could expand my community a lot more than it is. And I have been working on that. I wouldn't say I don't think I'm picky as much as selective. Because a lot of people are not, I like to be around people who are consciously working on themselves. And a lot of people they don't really value that. And so I like to spend time with people who value their own growth, who value their awareness, who value new perspectives, who believe that they can change who they are, that they accept who they are and they love who they are. Like, that's who I like to expand around. And as you may understand, that is not the norm for people. So what I'm noticing as I'm wearing these glasses is I can read every single, hey Zoya, I can read every single comment. Sometimes when I have when I don't have these glasses on, so I think it might be the contrast. I can read everything without any problems. So how do you know who you're spending time around. Maybe you're like me and you're an entrepreneur and you spend a lot of time by yourself. Thank you, Zoya. I missed you. It's good to see you here. Same. I can't stand wasted moments. Well, they're not wasted now, are they, Red? People are just wasting time. Won't take life serious. Vacation, like there's my timer on to take these glasses off. I watched the most ridiculous TV show, Red, about, and these people were very much unconscious, but we don't have to judge other people being unconscious when that could just be a reflection of the collective, or it could be a reflection of where we need to grow, like, and ask ourselves, where am I unconscious? You know, I am fortunate in that, you know, I have a lot of discernment, and I had to learn discernment through some very painful experiences, but I'm very discerning about who I choose to spend my time with. And part of that is because I really do enjoy my time on my own. Some of that has been a way of, you know, just my lifestyle. I'm not a hermit, but I certainly have spent a lot of time healing. And oftentimes you do that. You have ebbs and flows of how much contact you're having with people. And a lot of people want to suck the life out of you. And so sometimes to create stronger boundaries, you have to know where your limits are. And so I'm pretty aware of what I can do, and when I'm like reaching my thresholds. I'm very aware of other people not being aware. So specifically, one of the things that I feel is when other people have their when their fight or flight is on. That's a gift I've been given to have that kind of sensory. But you know, I can't go around telling everybody to turn off their fight or flight. You know, a lot of people that are in fight or flight, they don't even know they're in it. They are just so accustomed to living a high stress life. And hey, I know that. I lived a high stress life, and I'm still looking at ways in which I take on stress where I don't need to. And how much of those stressful behaviors are learned or absorbed from, you know, our culture, our families, that type of thing. So being around others who are not exploring their ways doesn't mean we can't explore it for ourselves, because it is a reflection. You know, we are around others that show us who we are, even if it's an encounter with somebody who's hostile in a parking lot, which I've certainly had my fair share of those instances. You know, not everybody is a lesson, but we have learning in how we react to others, for sure. Okay, so I'm looking at your messages here, and I cannot read them now. Nobody takes me seriously. Okay, I could read that. Nobody takes me seriously. Well, is that really true? That sounds like an extreme perspective, Rakesh. Nobody takes me seriously. That can't possibly be true. I wonder if that there's another way to see that some people don't take me seriously. Well, who cares how other people are receiving us? That's their business. That's what I think. You know, unless it has to do with your work where you need to be have credibility. But if it's about, I really, what other people think of us is really, if you knew how other people think, you wouldn't care how, what they thought of you. Because a lot of people have very far out there thoughts that are incongruent. So unless you're really valuing incongruence, you're not going to pay attention to what other people think, unless you're looking for validation from the outside, Rakesh, which I would say you don't want to spend your time looking for validation outside. You want to start to create a strong inner connection. Okay, let me see. I'm going to try and read this slow. Best, but let me try putting these glasses on. Yeah, I could see with these glasses. But chronic things can damage our brain and body. Yeah, chronic anything. Chronic anything. Extremes in anything is never the answer, really. We're really striving for balance. Where do we find balance? You know, in our awareness, we need to start to become aware of where we're imbalanced. So, Rakesh, I would say, like, you know, having extreme thoughts, you know, would be something that's chronic. So how does that help you? That would put you in a state of judgment. You know, you really don't know how other people think unless they're telling you. And then when they're telling you what they think, it's really up to you to decide whether you want to take that on board or not, whether what they're saying has some validity to you or not. So oftentimes people are projecting and they're not aware of it. Oftentimes you're projecting and you're not aware of it. So you could also look at your statement as, I don't take myself seriously. And look at that. What do you think? Creating balance. So how do we start to expand who we are around? Let's just say you have a partner who doesn't value growth. Let's just say that. Well, what are you going to do about that? You can't change them. You can invite them along for the ride. But once you've invited them, do you choose to stop growing because they don't want to grow? I mean, listen to that statement. Do you choose to stop growing because your partner doesn't want to grow? I mean, that's a conscious choice that you have to make, right? So if you're consciously choosing to stop growing because your partner doesn't want to grow, you've created a hostage situation here. This is like a hostage takeover, like you're being controlled, essentially. And I would say you're allowing yourself to be controlled by somebody who doesn't want to grow. Now, logically, does that make any sense to you? Like, logically. And if you heard that, what advice would you give to that person? Well, my advice would be to see how does it feel to be in a relationship with somebody who is controlling your ability to grow and change. Like, that must feel stifling. It feels closed. It's not very loving. I'm sure the pretext is like, oh, I love you, but I just don't want to do that. Well, that's not love. Love supports growth and evolution, whether you like it or not. Love has nothing to do with preferences or likes or dislikes. Love is just like a frequency of open and accepting. So if you're in a partnership with somebody who doesn't want to grow, and you have changed your willingness to grow because they're not wanting to come along on the ride with you. Now you are, you're in what's called a closed system. That relationship is not open, full, and filled with love. It's a closed system with potentially some high probabilities for, what's the word? Codependency. And is that the type of relationship you want to be in? Is that the type of relationship that you want to flourish or that you can flourish in? And it's not really about asking this other person to change. It's really about you really taking full accountability for yourself. And if you're dependent on this person, you're not taking full accountability. And therefore, you're self-abdicating your responsibility, which is, not empowering, and it certainly goes against freedom, personal freedom, and going to what Rakesh was saying earlier, it will cause damage to you in health for sure. In fact, there's a lot of polarities in our world, and a lot of people, I would say almost 100% of the clients that come in their first session, I am helping them to reconcile some inner conflicts, because the inner conflicts are creating polarity, and when we have polarity, that creates stress. When we have stress, that changes how our brain and our body operate, as you were saying, Rakesh. So I'm going to put my glasses on again so I don't have to put my readers on. Yes, you have done earlier, but she also chooses her own growth, right? What if they are your parents? Okay, great question. And what do you mean by grow? Okay, grow in what area? Okay, these are great questions. Very detailed questions. You guys are very analytical. So what if your parents are closed? Well, let's just go with that, because that's very common. Our parents are who they are, right? And first of all, let me just preface this by saying both of my parents have passed away. One, and I'm all good. You don't need to apologize. I learned from them in spirit as much as I did from them in the physical. Maybe even more so, because you don't have that personality. Hold on a second. Are you okay? Okay, sorry. I thought I had an emergency going. Okay, so if your parents are closed-minded, closed to change, what I would offer to you, because this is a challenging situation, no doubt, especially if you're living at home, is first find it in your heart and your mind to accept them where they are. That your job and your responsibility is to not change them, okay? That's not your job. Your job is to just go into the best of your ability, knowing that this is a challenging situation, okay? Because it's difficult. Anything with your family is going to be at your core a challenge, because there's so much going on within the DNA and our family dynamics, and a lot of learned behaviors, a lot of things that we take on that we're not even conscious of. Okay, so the first thing I would say, Clout, is to go into the best of your ability, is to accept. And then go into gratitude. And then, knowing that you've accepted, knowing that you're grateful, identify when you get triggered by them, what is it that is triggering you? Like, not them per se, but what did they do that triggered something within you? Made you irritable or frustrated or maybe angry or sad or whatever the emotion is, and acknowledge that emotion. And then to the best of your ability, try to narrow down. Like, it's hard to do this on your own, for sure. I do it with my clients, but it's hard to do on your own. But you can do it on your own. Identify what it was that they did or expressed or didn't do or didn't express that triggered you. And that is what needs to be healed within you. And when you become conscious of that, that conscious presence begins to heal that aspect within you, and then changes the trigger so they can't trigger you anymore. Okay? Okay, I'm putting my glasses back on so I can read. Growth. in all areas. Why would you limit it to one area? Growth is expansion. Growth is evolution. Growth could be a change. You know, who am I to determine what's growth for you? No, I would never dare to do that. You know, what I think is growth for me might not be growth for you. But I think being grateful to me at the post office, a place that I don't like to go into, government facilities, people that really usually are not very happy, you know, today I had a totally different experience, and that's growth. You know, so growth is what you think it is. Okay, Red Hunter was saying, can you believe that I can read these without my readers? Okay. Can you tell some reconcile techniques? I don't know what you mean by that. I just gave you one, Rakesh. Does that help? Red Hunter, I still have to trick my mom into success. It works sometimes, right? I mean, you know, our parents are, our family is, if you could look at them as like a teacher, and what are they teaching you? Not like tying your shoes or anything like that, but just like, what is your family teaching you? What is your mom teaching you? What is your dad teaching you? Not about success, because what is success, Red Hunter? Have you defined success? I mean, what is that? To me, success changes as you change, but most people haven't defined success. So my mother did not see herself as educated, let's just say, because she didn't have, quote unquote, a formal education. But boy, that was just a perception. My mother was smarter and astute in ways that people that went to college could never have learned the way she learned it. She was resilient, and she just never gave up, and she was very successful. I think she saw herself as successful, but she always saw not having a formal education as a kind of like a weakness, if you will. Like, she always wanted it. But what I would say, you know, she's not alive for me to tell her this, but I'm sure she knows this on the other side. Like, these formal educations, I have been untraining, unwinding everything I've learned from all my education. Because let me tell you, just because you're educated does not mean you're worldly, does not mean you're smart, does not mean you're wise. So really, I don't think formal education for me. My big insight into formal education was when I used to, there's two instances I'm going to give you. I used to, because I have my master's in organizational leadership and conflict management. And a lot of my comrades that I worked with had higher educations, PhDs from like Harvard and MIT. And I used to really think I was going to go get my PhD. I'm glad I never did that. Thank God. Thank God. I didn't want to give up my life is really what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to go into debt and give up my life for a degree. It just was not the path that I wanted to go on. But what I learned is that they're not smarter. I used to think they were smarter, but that's a lie. It's like a hierarchical conditioning pattern that's effed up, in my opinion. These people are not smarter. They don't know more than you. They may have a different language or experience than you do, but that goes for everybody. So your education, you know, you don't have to have a degree to be wise. And when I learned that, I really took them off a pedestal, and I really saw myself more as equal to them. Whereas before I was putting them above me, which was dumb. That's a dumb thing to do. The other thing, this is so funny, this one. I'll never forget, I had this client. He was an MIT Navy nuclear engineer, and he was what they called a Naval Academy grad, and these naval guys, I used to consult with the Navy a lot, and they had these big, huge rings. They used to call them Navy knuckle knockers, and they would they would use these rings to show their status, to basically influence others, to be intimidated by them because they were smarter, right? They thought they were because they were naval grads. Anyways, this guy was a naval grad and he went to MIT, and I was consulting to him, and he was really just interfering with my meetings exponentially. Like, I was working with this team and he would take over the meetings, he would talk about nonsense, he would derail everything. And so I went to go have a private meeting with him and tell him to shut up. Which is not very nice. And let me tell you, I've worked on my delivery. I am not that direct, but at the time I didn't know. I just needed him to shut up because he was derailing everything. And so I was having this session. I was like, has anybody ever told you talked a lot? And he's like, well, yeah, a lot of people. I was like, good. Next time you see that you're talking, just stop. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to make an excuse of why you're stopping. Just stop yourself. Save somebody from trying to stop you, because I knew that my group was never going to interrupt him because he had authority over them. He had, in the hierarchy of things, he had a lot more authority over them, not just in education, but in his rank. So long story short, fast forward, I go to have another meeting with another guy that went to school with this guy, and another MIT grad. And I finally said, what? This guy was so dumb. I mean, he had no like critical thinking, very little common sense, very much in the hierarchy. I'm better than you. What I say goes. And he threatened me. He physically threatened me, and then he threatened my job to take my job away. And I was like, I don't know who you're talking to, but do they have some kind of special program at MIT? Because I don't know who you think you are to speak to me like that. And we had our words and exchanged, and he ended up being demoted after that exchange. And yeah, he was a bully. Anyways, those were my early days in consulting. I used to have those kinds of exchanges all too often, but it was really an eye-opener about how people will assert their what they perceive as authority over others, and other people accept it because they feel less than because of education. No way, not me, not anymore. I see that, I see through that. It's a program, it's a condition, and I don't align with that. So that's a longer story. Okay, let's see what you're saying here. Red Hunter says, to be honest, my presence is frustrating. To be in their presence is frustrating. Yeah, I could imagine being in the presence of people who are closed-minded is very frustrating. So I would just spend limited time with them if you can. If you can, see how much time you can be in their presence without getting frustrated. I once had a boyfriend in my college days, and I loved his family, but I couldn't spend a lot of time around them. And so, I gave myself, I would only be around them for short periods of time because that was my threshold before it got to be too much. So you got to know yourself. Red Hunter's saying, can you pull someone out of a childlike party behavior, maybe through an example, or wait for them to make that choice on their own? Okay, new girlfriend. Well, congratulations, Red Hunter. New relationships are always ways in which we could grow. So oftentimes childlike behaviors, I don't know what behavior specifically you're talking about, but I'll just say an ego tantrum might be one of them. That is very common that we can all relate to, and we've seen adults have tantrums like that. Can we pull them out of that? Well, that's not our job. So I would suggest, Red Hunter, to be an observer. To be an observer of the situation and see what is that triggering within yourself. Or maybe you're being shown a red flag. So that's what I would say, Red Hunter. Look at that. What is that person reflecting to you about your own childhood wounds that may need healing? Because, that's the thing. Okay, she's young. The I can't get mad. I partied hard in my 20s, kind of hard, bad. If somebody, being young isn't a problem, because you can have an older person that has those same behaviors. But you can't get mad, or you could get mad, but why would you get mad at somebody who's just reflecting back to you where you need to grow? I mean, that's your choice, right? So what is this person reflecting back to you? And the fact that you are mentioning their age might be a thing about you and your age, and how mature or how are you, or where are you immature that you need to grow. Eric is saying, I was a homebody my whole life. Yeah, I wouldn't say as a homebody, but I've definitely become one. So I can relate to you, Eric. It's not a bad thing. It's a privilege to be able to love your own company and to enjoy yourself, as long as you're not escaping in video games and movies and Netflix, that you're able to access your creativity. It's a good thing. Red Hunter, PhD not worth it at all, right? I mean, I agree. I'm so glad that I wised up to that PhD. No offense to those who have it. We all have our lessons, but what I will say is there's a lot of programming in the educational system. Oh God, the Navy ego is through the roof. Red Hunter, well, I have a lot of clients, and is the Navy ego any different than any other ego? No. What I will say is that it might be more acceptable. It's just a matter of it's the culture. It's the culture. And it's not the culture of ego, it's the culture of being programmed. Because whether you're a civilian or in the military, we all have programming. A culture has a program. And in the program, there are rules of engagement, if you will. And so you have to know the rules in order to engage. Obviously, one of the reasons why I was brought in is because, I can see the rules and I don't operate off of those rules the same way consultants that are retired Navy would do. They can't get the changes. So normally when I was brought in crisis situations. That's my forte. And with the crisis, I could see the patterns much easier than people who are from that culture. They can't see it because they're in it. So this goes back to learned behaviors, learned programs. These things get recorded in your DNA. It could get passed down from your parents. It's so deep. It takes a lot of awareness. A lot of awareness. So anyways, going back to, people who don't want to learn. That's for us to learn from them. So how I would turn that around is, what is my partner or my parents who don't want to learn? What are they showing me about myself? So where am I closed? Where have I consciously turned off my learning because they're that way? That would be the first question to ask yourself. And be really open to learning where those places are. You have to be really open and willing to learn. Where am I closed? To actually see those patterns emerge for yourself. You can literally change your life with that one question. But you have to be willing. You must be willing to change and learn. Playing huge difference in intelligence. DNA. Oh yeah, DNA is playing a huge role in intelligence. Well, what I would say is DNA works like switches, right? Turn it on, turn it off. So it's not set. It's not a set program. It's a program that can be reprogrammed. But you must rise in your levels of consciousness in order to begin to reprogram, rewire what that blueprint is. You know, that's what's so amazing about reality, is that we perceive reality based on our levels of consciousness. So anyways, this is fun conversation. Any questions? Well, I think I just answered your question, Rakesh, there. Any thoughts? I love these kinds of discussions. I wasn't planning on coming on here today, but, you know, here I am. So let me see what else is coming up for me in relationship to who you spend your time around. I think if you have a negative attitude, it's hard to find people that you like. So really monitor your thinking and your attitude. And if your attitude is you can say you want to grow, but have a negative attitude. So notice, where are you locked in? So that's another question, another way to ask it. Like, where do you need to unlock your ways of being to be more open? Where do you need to unlock or be more open in your perceptions and attitude? Rakesh says, ma'am, I need to meet you once in a lifetime. Well, we're here now, in this lifetime. Red Hunter, I need to meet some millionaire businessmen, and then I need to relearn how to have fun. Okay, Red Hunter, here's what you're gonna do. This is such a fun activity, and it opens up so much potentials. First of all, they don't have to be a millionaire, but you can go find a millionaire. You can go meet somebody who you think is making hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever. And you ask these people who you perceive to do that. You ask them if you could do an informational interview. Now, if you go on my YouTube channel, this one right here, and you go to Careers in the New Paradigm, and then you go to informational interviews, you'll find a video exactly what that is. But that will open up the potentials. Now, you want to meet a millionaire businessman, so you have to go to where these people are, and then you have to ask to interview them, whether it's in person or on the phone. And you ask them a series of questions, and I'm not going to tell you what questions to ask, but you ask them. And what you'll notice it's going to open up potentials for you. So that's number one. And then I need to have fun. So Red Hunter, I would say, go meet people who you perceive to be having fun, and ask them why they are doing what they're doing. Because what's fun for me, and fun, like to me, this is fun. I like having meaningful discussions. This is fun for me. But a lot of people don't want to talk to a screen or talk to YouTube or talk to strangers that they don't know and learn. But, going to play pickleball with a bunch of competitive people, for me, that's not fun. That's actually quite painful. Like, as an empath who feels things, and I feel these people, and I can sense their thoughts, and they have very hateful thoughts, a lot of them. That's not fun to be around that energy at all. So that's not fun. And to me, they say they're having fun, but they're not. And so you got to be willing to look at what's incongruent. Now, a lot of people look at Facebook and YouTubes and Instagrams, and they see these people that show that they're in love, and they're in a fucking, toxic relationship. So don't believe what you see. You got to check it out for yourself. Like, what is fun for you? Red Hunter, oh good, I'm glad you're here. This is fun for me too. So those are things that I would do. What I think is fun, my husband doesn't necessarily think is fun. But we have fun together doing things. We have a lot of things in common. The first thing we have in common is we have very, very similar value set. We don't value all the same things equally, but we do have a lot of our values are solid. That doesn't mean you don't have challenges. So anyways, let's see. Next one here. So who's having fun? I'm having fun. Thanks, Red Hunter, for being here. Paragraph. The algorithm mind control infesting negative energy into the screens. Yeah, there is overlays, Paragraph. You're right. There are these overlays. That's why I got off Facebook. Instagram's not much better. None of it's much better, but Telegram is pretty interesting. I'm not in a lot of things on Telegram, but I do enjoy Telegram more. I don't have a group on Telegram because I stopped starting groups, But overlays are all over media, so we have to be very mindful. Rakesh, you can ask questions. You don't have to ask questions. You're empowered to ask questions, and I am empowered to not answer if I don't want to. I cannot believe how much easier it is for me to read the screen with these glasses. I have my readers right here, but I don't need them. So these are just, I think it must create such a contrast to where you can see things. And it's got these little holes. I don't know, can you see? Little holes that you have to focus through. Anyways, I wouldn't pay full price, but if you can get them on sale. Okay, questions. I think I've been on here almost an hour. Let's see. I know I do long form content. A lot of people they want these quick and easy reels. And if I invested in social media, then I'd have reels, but I don't. So I'm sorry for those of you who don't like long form content. Any questions? I'm looking for your question here, Rakesh. And then I'm going to go. It'll be the last question. Questions. Okay, here we go. Corporations and government act like the same thing sometimes. Well, Paragraph, our cultures are unwinding from things that we've been conditioned into. So Paragraph, you just might be ahead of the curve from what you resonate with. But the bottom line is we resonate with a lot of things that we don't understand. But when we start to wake up, we see them. And then when we see them, we can choose to do things differently, Rakesh, your question was restricted. So I don't know what you did. Please feel free to like and share this video. If you're coming onto this video and you watched it, please let me know that you were here. Leave a comment in the letting me know that you watched. I appreciate it. Any comment, just even an emoji is great. Okay, paragraph says, Rakesh says, sorry. I climb from childhood days. I have a lot of suffering. Can you tell me what I can do in this matter? Work with your higher self and your God self to raise your frequency. So continuously connect with your heart, your higher self, and your God self to raise your frequency above beyond your perception and beyond your comprehension. And continue to connect and open your heart, Rakesh. That will change your vibration. If you keep going back to the past and reliving the past, you will realign yourself to the suffering. And suffering, a lot of times is self-induced. I'm not going to say all the time, but a lot of time. Okay, the intelligence agencies ask, do you love your country? When they bring you into the fold. They don't ask, do you love your people? Interesting paragraph. I have not thought of it in that way. I once heard, I think it was Paul Selig, say, there are no borders. There are no borders. These are man-made borders. And so really the country lines, these designations are man-made. And so it really is about being kind to people, loving people. I agree. Red Hunter. I've told you all about the book. Now I can't remember the book. Well, your trauma, your past does not have to dictate your future. So when you say my trauma, that's a claiming of the trauma. When you claim something as yours, it's hard to get rid of it, right? So it could just be the trauma. And the trauma, it then at least delineates it from, you're not making it part of your identity. Part of trauma is that people make it part of their identity. This is how people are controlled, is through trauma. So trauma, fear, pain, suffering, emotional, physical, spiritual, you name it, that is a controlling mechanism. So the first way to get out from under control is to have awareness of where you've made something your identity, part of who you are, that is not who you are. So knowing who you are is important, okay? It's a very heavy topic to close on, but it's really empowering as well, because you have the power to heal. Your experiences do not define you. Your experiences are to help you evolve, and you have the power to evolve and grow through everything that you've experienced. I am sorry that, what I will say from my own personal pain is that pain can be transmuted through your presence, through your awareness, through your conscious evolution. And it's your willingness to be present to your pain that allows it to be transmuted. And that sounds like a beautiful place to pause our live today and say thank you for being here. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your presence with me. Thank you for being here and being in this life and growing. I really appreciate your vulnerability in these comments. So I'm just going to read these comments and then I'm going to head off. Okay. Yes, self-induced insecure. Yeah. Rakesh, good awareness. Good awareness. Now you're on to something here. Lokesh, good to see you. Good to see you. Hello. Hello. Transformation, linguistic, dialectic, and ancient symbols can be completely erased. Yes, yes, yes. You're great. Thank you for being here, Paragraph. Thank you. You all have a great day. Great to see you. We'll see you next week. Put your notifications on.